Alrighty, everybody. What is up? What is up? Welcome back to another update, my friends. We have some new info for you guys. Some pretty big changes to the forecast here. We Here. Let me finish getting this set up real quickly. We now have hurricane warnings in effect for Jamaica. Honestly, not really surprised that these came as soon as they did. It's just been kind of looking more and more concerning for Jamaica, which now we do have those warnings in place for Jamaica. So anyways, folks, it is good to see you guys again. I hope everyone is doing well. We're going to take it a second for people to join us. It takes a minute for notifications and stuff like that to go out, but I hope everyone is doing well and having a great evening. But yeah, so Jamaica at this point in time really does need to be preparing for the system. We now have hurricane warnings in effect here for Jamaica. Those tropical storm warnings are still in effect for Haiti, as well as the hurricane watch is in effect out there as well. But yeah, the big changes with the latest update now has the system with hurricane warnings in effect for Jamaica. Now, we have had a little bit of strengthening too, in the last couple of updates here. Right now we are sustained at 65 still. Storm is moving northwest at 3 miles an hour. So, I mean, it's moving very slow still. System is barely moving. And it is expected to probably become a hurricane in the next update that we'll be getting here. So just wanted to point that out here. So we have the relatively newish spaghetti models here. And we got a little bit more agreement going on. But unfortunately, it kind of looks like that Jamaica is going to be like right in the crosshairs here. It's looking more and more likely like we're going to have a direct landfall over Jamaica, which will eventually kind of bring it to eastern Cuba and then over like the southern Bahamas and stuff like that before taking it out further into the Atlantic here. So definitely got to look out there for it. Let's see. What's up, Christopher? Good to see you. Saying I'm looking at current infrared. Looks to me that Melissa went from being stretched to vertically stacked, correct. Or vertically stacked, correct me if I'm wrong. Well, let me look. Actually, yeah, we'll go ahead and bring up our sat view. Look at it. It's definitely looking a little bit better here. Here's the latest here. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely more vertically stacked, absolutely. That wind shear that we were talking about the last couple of days have pretty much subsided at this point, for the most part, which has allowed the system to, kind of pick up in terms of strength and stuff like that. We have been strengthening throughout today. This morning, I think we were sustained at 45, if I'm not mistaken. And now we are sustained at 65 mile per hour sustained wind. So we're getting closer and closer to hurricane status, but it is still a tropical storm. So, but it is, it's just kind of sitting there. Like I said, it's moving at 3 miles an hour right now. So, I mean, it's barely moving. What's up, Joe? Good to see you. But yeah, if you zoom out a little bit, you can see. So here's Jamaica over here on the left-hand side there. So that's Jamaica. So the system's going to kind of come in, do a little bit of steering, and then probably sometime, within the next couple of days, end its way out here by Jamaica before shifting to the northeast here and going out there towards like eastern Cuba. So obviously at this point in time, we do need Jamaica to be prepared. We need to make sure everybody has enough food and enough water. Make sure all of your stuff is together, you guys. This is definitely no joke. Definitely a system that we don't want to mess with here. We definitely need you guys to be preparing for it out there. Honestly, if you're out there along the coast of Jamaica, it would be highly advised to move inland and get away from the coast. Honestly, seeking, ground further away from the coast would be the best idea here. So I'm sure we have, we do have plenty of days left in order to prepare for the system, because, like I said, the system's just kind of sitting there, but like I mentioned, it is looking more and more likely like a direct landfall could definitely occur. You can see here on the latest spaghetti model runs here, majority of the models have the system working their way to Jamaica within the next 3 days or so. And like I said, the newest info that we have going on right now is that we have, we do have those hurricane warnings are now in effect. So Jamaica now has those hurricane warnings as of right now. So definitely got to look out there for that. But yeah, it's just going to slowly work its way here to the northwest, eventually kind of, getting kicked up by that frontal system and then working its way over here to the northeast. But like I said, that's going to put Jamaica directly in the impact zone, also Cuba, eventually the Bahamas, and then, of course, the system will kind of go its way out here to sea. Now, it could get near, Bermuda in the far long run, but it is definitely just too early to tell, that far in advance. I mean, right now, obviously, the main threat is for Jamaica. Even Haiti, too. We do have the tropical storm warning out there. So Haiti, Jamaica, Cuba, and the Bahamas are the areas that I'm mostly concerned about. Let's see here. I'm just curious. What is the weather system looking like next week? What, for the system here? Well, basically, like I said, the system's going to be working its way, to the west, kind of northwest over the next few days, and then, of course, shifting its way over here to the north. Going over Cuba, it looks like within the next 96 hours. So that'll be at about 4 days from now. And then, of course, it'll work its way over there towards the Bahamas, in which we definitely got to look out for that. And then, of course, it'll continue on its way. But, yeah, anyways. Let's see, the system going through the South U.S. Oh, okay, so the one that we were doing earlier, we were tracking it earlier. Okay, so that system right now is... kicking up some storms along Texas. We do have a little bit of severe weather going on right now. We were actually doing 2 hours of coverage of that earlier. We might even do some more coverage tonight, depends on how intact the system remains. But the system right now is going through Texas. It's just going to keep on going eastward, which will eventually kind of work its way over here into... Here, let's bring you guys over here. Bring up our models, and then we'll hop to the western U.S. So that system's just going to continue rolling through. You can kind of see it right here. Continue rolling through for the next few days. That'll roll through and kind of drag the system behind it, which will get the system going farther away from the U.S., thankfully. But GFS has been a little iffy here. Euro, I think, is a lot more accurate here lately with what the system's likely going to do. It has the system going, picking up strength just before approaching Jamaica, making a landfall over Jamaica, possibly another landfall over eastern Cuba, maybe even another landfall over the Bahamas, and then, of course, continually working its way up here to the northeast. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot of coverage that's going to be needed for this system here, which we'll be sure to watch it. What's up, D? Good to see you, my friend. I hope you're doing well. Glad to see you here. But yeah, so let's actually dive into some of these hurricane models here. We'll start off with the HWRF here. This is the HRF model. So this is the 18 Zulu. We don't have the 0 yet. That has not yet been established, but we'll obviously bring up tomorrow's models whenever we talk about tomorrow. But this is the latest one we got right now. But latest HWRF does have landfall projected in eastern Jamaica. Now remember, this is one model, this is one particular opinion here, so take that with a grain of salt. But then, of course, it pulls north of Jamaica, then makes another second landfall in the eastern side of Cuba, then continues, makes landfall in the southern Bahamas, and then, of course, just continues off to the northeast here. So definitely quite a impactful system. So yeah, first... according to this model, it goes right over Jamaica, then eastern Cuba, then the Bahamas. So, and of course, some of that tropical storm force stuff would probably be out there by Haiti as well. So, got to look out for that. Now, in terms of the, moisture, like I was mentioning, you guys, there's really not going to be much that's going to hold this system back. The system is... in a pretty much a perfect environment. There's no wind shear that's affecting the storm structure. There's plenty enough moisture for the storm and, tons of convection to occur. And of course, there's really, really warm waters out here. We're talking 30 degrees Celsius sea surface temperatures, which is just very warm. So there's a lot of heat involved, which, you know, the system has plenty enough heat to thrive. And so, yeah, definitely, like I said, a little bit concerned about the environment that it's in. And of course, you know, with it rapidly strengthening, you know, there's not much that's going to be holding the system back. You know, it's going to be pretty much full throttle here for the next couple of days here, as the system just kind of sits there in the waters and then picks up some strength just before rolling over these areas here. So a bit concerning for sure. Now let's hop over to HMON. Like I mentioned, it's great to look at more than one model. You know, you should never just focus on one model. But looking at HMON, a little bit of a different story, but still has that system making landfall in eastern Jamaica. What's up, Sandra? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. So it does have that landfall, according to this model, kind of right around the afternoon of the 26th. So that is in 2 days from now. So it has landfall projected about 2 days from now here, according to HMON. But those effects would probably be starting to be felt pretty much on the late 25th, early 26th here. So pretty much late tomorrow, early the day after. And then, of course, goes right over Jamaica. Then, of course, pulls to the north a little bit with that frontal system, you know, influence from the U.S. coming down. Then, of course, makes another landfall over Cuba, weakens a bit because it has, you know, the mountainous ranges, but then, you know, perhaps picks up some more strength here as the system goes over, you know, the southern Bahamas here. Sandra says, I'm doing good. How are you? I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for asking. So, yeah, definitely still a bit concerning there, too. Now, let's hop over to the HAFSA. Here's another hurricane model. So HFSA has a system, oh, wow, yeah, these models are very aggressive. System rapidly exploding, actually having the system get down into the 9 teens, basically. The 916 is showing here just before landfall. Also, this is actually showing landfall on the 28th rather than the 26th. So obviously there is a bit of difference there in the model still. There still is a bit of disagreement with timing and, you know, overall landfall, but it does show system going a bit further to the west here. You can kind of see it kind of scrapes the southern coast of Jamaica, and then it kind of pulls to the north over it because of that frontal system that starts to come through. But yeah, it does the same thing, goes over Jamaica, goes over Cuba, goes into you know, the Bahamas, and then pulls through and continues up here. So definitely got to watch that. Did I hear about the unwanted tornado in Fort Worth? I did not. No. D, thank you so much for the $5 super chat, my friend. That is greatly appreciated. Really, really nice. Thank you so much, D. That was really, really sweet of you. You did not have to do that. That helps me out a ton, so thank you so much. You guys in chat, please give D a big thank you for the support with the $5 super chat. I appreciate it. You rock, my friend. Thank you so, so much. Let's see here. Carrot says it might have been significant. Hopefully no one got hurt by the unwanted tornado. Yeah, I did not hear about that. I did see that there was some pretty strong wind gusts out there, though. Sandra says, I'm keeping my prayers for those affected by the powerful storm. Absolutely. Yeah, same here. Now, the HAFSB model, you know, also kind of agrees in terms of the system really picking up some strength. It does have that landfall here kind of right around the morning of the 28th here. So, you know, once again, models are still a little iffy on the timing, the time frame of landfall and, you know, exact location of landfall. You know, some of the models we looked at have that system making landfall on the eastern side of Jamaica. Some of them have it going on the western side of Jamaica. So there's still a pretty big gap there. But HAFSB has the pressure getting pretty low, down into the upper 930s. You know, of course, then goes through Jamaica. It goes right between Cuba, Jamaica, and Haiti. Makes another landfall in Cuba before making another landfall in the Bahamas, and then shifting its way over here to the northeast overall. So definitely a very impactful system here. D says, I love watching you and your updates. Well, I appreciate that, D. That was really, really nice of you, my friend. Thank you once again so much for the support. That is really, really nice of you. You definitely didn't have to do that, my friend. But thank you so much for the support. Like I said, that helps out a ton, and it is greatly appreciated. So thank you so much. So let's see here. So in terms of GFS here, you know, in terms of GFS, we do have, honestly, I think GFS is a little bit different than a lot of these other models. GFS has the system actually a bit further to the east here, you know, kind of barely skimming Jamaica overall, but still kind of going north. It squeezes right between Cuba and Haiti as well, and of course goes through the southern Bahamas before, you know, shifting out to sea. But you know, regardless, I mean, even that scenario would still be quite impactful here. Then you have the ECMWF. I think Euro's doing a much better job on this here. Has a system making landfall directly on the southern side of Jamaica. Then, of course, it goes through eastern Cuba, and once again through the Bahamas, and then, of course, out to sea there. So, but yeah, these are the global models here. These ones are a little bit lower resolution as compared to the hurricane models. You know, hurricane models are specifically tuned for hurricanes. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't think clear. We'll have to switch over to Icon here. But yeah. So I think Icon is significantly underdoing it. Icon has the system strengthening, kind of the pressure getting down in the lower 970s, but more realistically, the system would probably get in the pressure of like 930s and whatnot. So, you know, just kind of what the models were suggesting. Now, hopping back over here. So here's the main spaghetti models overall. So we'll definitely look at this. Let's see here. Carrot, please don't mention other YouTubers on here. Be greatly appreciated. Chris says, what's good, man? Thank God it's Friday. Prayers to Jamaica, Cuba, and the Bahamas, and possibly Bermuda again. Melissa makes landfall. Yep. What's up, Chris? Good to see you. So, like I said, it's a little early for the Bahamas, or sorry, a little early for Bermuda. Jamaica, you know, we need to prepare now. Same thing, Eastern Cuba, honestly, should really start preparing. And even the Bahamas, you know, the southern Bahamas, it would not hurt to start prepping for the storm here. You know, by the guidance we have now, I mean, it's definitely pretty likely that the system will go, well, it's pretty much definite it'll go over Jamaica at this point. It's just, you know, it'll be right up against it, if not right over Jamaica. But also have it going over, you know, eastern Cuba here, and then eastern, or the southern Bahamas, you know, overall. So anyways, so yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, yeah, those areas definitely need to be prepping here. Definitely Jamaica, definitely eastern Cuba, and, you know, even, yes, in southern Bahamas. Really need to watch it. But yeah, you can see the latest models here. I mean, there's quite a bit of support, you know, that has the system here. Let's zoom out a little bit so you guys can see the full picture. You know, there is quite a bit of support in the long range of the system, you know, going northwest pretty slowly, but then getting caught up by that low pressure system, you know, exiting the U.S. Before getting launched to the northeast. And, you know, that little speck out there, that's Bermuda. But like I said, there's a really wide gap here in the models. You know, some models have it going well far to the east of Bermuda. Some have it going well far to the west of Bermuda. You know, the middle ground tells us, okay, it could go right near Bermuda, but that's why it's important just to watch, but not, you know, to the point yet where it's, you know, like I said, it's not imminent for them right now in Bermuda. Anyway, so big update tonight. Like I said, y'all, if you're just tuning in, we now have hurricane warnings in effect for Jamaica. So, hurricane warnings, meaning hurricane conditions is expected, is imminent. So it means to be on full alert, ready to prepare. Once again, if you know anybody in Jamaica, if you're out in Jamaica, you guys need to prep immediately. You know, now's the time to prepare. You need, like I said, make sure you have enough bottled water, make sure you have enough food. We're going to show you guys the satellite view again. But yeah, make sure you have enough bottled water, make sure you have enough food. You know, your medicines together, your important documents together. You know, if you're on the coast, heavily advised to get away from the coast. And it is extremely dangerous to be out there. I mean, because, you know, the way that it looks, the system could even be a near Cat 5 at landfall in Jamaica. It is expected to be a Category 4 at landfall as of right now, an upper level Category 4. The Hurricane Center actually has a system just shy of a Category 5, but, you know, this thing really does have a run for it overall. So anyway, so that's that. Another thing I do want to show you guys here, actually, we're going to hop back to the Hurricane Center's page. There's a few other graphics that they put up here that I do want to look at with y'all So let's go ahead and bring it out. So first of all, right now, system is sustained at 65 miles per hour. Actually, the pressure did go down a little bit here. You can see, yeah, 65 sustained right now. So it is still an upper level tropical storm. Central pressure here is now, down to 993 millibars. And the storm is moving northwest at a very, very speedy 3 miles an hour. So it's barely moving. I mean, you can jog as fast as the system is moving, basically. It's pretty crazy. But anyways, a couple other things I want to look at here is also, the rainfall totals and stuff like that. So, looking at the rainfall totals, it is nothing shy of a big problem. And you can see, I mean, there still is a little bit of uncertainty here in this netted area. This is the lower confidence zone, but if you look at it, eastern and central Jamaica is in the pink, which represents the possibility of 20 to 30 inches of rainfall, which that would be equivalent to 500 to 750 millimeters of rain. That is a lot. Now, given the terrain of Jamaica, too, it's very mountainous. All that water's got to go somewhere, and those valleys are going to be flooding like crazy. And with that being the case, there's going to be a huge threat for landslides, mudslides, all kinds of concerns out there that we definitely need to watch here very, very close. So, like I mentioned, you guys, please, please, please be careful. That is a lot of rain here. So also we have the Southern Dominican Republic here, still in a pretty good amount of rainfall. Some patches of 8 to 12 inches here. Of course, Southern Cuba here, we're like right around 6 to 8 here overall. So definitely is a big concern here overall. So like I mentioned, here's the latest cone here from the Hurricane Center here. Once again, timing is still a little iffy, but it looks like sometime right around the evening of Monday is when we're probably going to have the system, near, if not making landfall. So we'll obviously be sure to be here for you guys to cover this. I'm going to be probably up all day long streaming this system. I do plan to. It's going to be a very, very long day. And I want to make sure that you guys are going to be staying weather aware and, weather prepared. But yeah, the system is going to go through Jamaica more than likely. Cut through Cuba, then go through the Bahamas. Now, it'll approach the Bahamas kind of right around the evening of Wednesday, mid next week here. And then, of course, we do have the system kind of impacting Jamaica early next week here. So we'll definitely look out there for that. Let's see here. What's up, Cheryl? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Let's see here. Mudslides definitely for this one. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So like I mentioned, given the terrain out here and the amount of rainfall we're going to be getting, like I mentioned, 20 to 30 inches of rain is, that's a lot of rain. And Jamaica being a very mountainous region, that is, all that water is just going to roll down the mountains into the valleys, and huge flooding concern too. So not only do we have, the significant wind concern, possibly wind gusts over 175 miles an hour, but also, rain of 20 to 30 inches, wind gusts up to 175, huge issues for the island there. And, like I said, this is just no joke. We definitely need you guys to prep for this immediately. Once again, this is the system right now kicking off here. It's, like I said, it's really not moving. It's just kind of sitting there. There's not much, there's just really not a lot of movement with that system right now. So, anyways. Carrot says, will it be a big hurricane? In terms of strength, yes. In terms of size, it's going to be a pretty decent sized storm overall. Did I see the CMC model, the Hurricane Center mentioned in the discussion? I did not. No, I did not. But we did look at the CMC, I'm pretty sure. Let's see here. Or was it the CMC or was it Icon? Here, let's look at CMC model. Yeah, CMC is really interesting here, actually. CMC has that system. Is that the 12 UTC run here? Yeah, it actually has it going a lot further west here, but still kind of, coming around and, rolling through Cuba and the Bahamas. Still kind of a similar output here regardless, but yeah. All right, let's actually hop back into these main models here. So we'll hop back to the HWRF here, start things off. So, all right, everybody. So hopping into the main hurricane model. So this is the HWRF here. So according to this model, we're going to be picking up a lot of strength here. So according to this in particular model, it looks like we're going to be having potential landfall in eastern Jamaica. This will be kind of right around the morning of the 26th. So this isn't about 2 days, but like I mentioned, there's still so much uncertainty. Some models even show the system making landfall in the evening of the 28th. So that's like a 2-day spread. So huge differences there. But according to HWRF, it makes landfall in the eastern side of Jamaica, pressure down into the mid-950s. So definitely a major hurricane at that point in time. Pulls to the north here, maybe picks up a little bit of strength as it gets, between these areas here, gets away from that mountain for a little bit. Maybe picks up a little bit of strength before re-hitting Cuba, or re-making landfall, I should say, in Cuba. Then, of course, pulling out of Cuba, probably a little bit weaker, rolling across southern Bahamas before, shooting out to sea here. And, what goes on after that's very much unknown. So, yeah, definitely is very concerning here. What's up, Hamilton? Good to see ya. Hope you're doing well. So yeah, that's HWRF here. Here's infrared view in case if you guys wanted to see it here. So, definitely some really heavy convection. According to HWRF here, I mean, you can really see we do have pretty decent looking eye. This is, yeah, for the afternoon of the 26th here. According to the HWRF. But anyways, moving on, hopping over to HMON. There's no here. So the HMON model, kind of has a similar kind of output, has that system working northwest, and, it slams right into the eastern side of Jamaica, making that landfall, in which, the system will have some heavy impacts over there. Then, of course, the system pulls north, picks up some more strength before hitting Cuba. Then, of course, goes over the Bahamas and whatnot. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, the common denominator here is that, first of all, Jamaica gets hit, then eastern Cuba gets hit, then the Bahamas get hit. So that is very likely at this point in time that these areas will be directly impacted here. Hopping back over here to the, the main spaghetti models. I mean, you can see there's Jamaica right here. You can see that we work our way down in time. System kind of goes a little bit west-northwest, and of course gets closer to the Jamaica, makes that landfall over Jamaica, then pulls to the north, goes over eastern Cuba, through the Bahamas, and out to sea. And like I said, it could or could not get close to Bermuda. That's why we also need Bermuda to watch this one as well. But that's really far in the extended range. Right now, we're mostly just focusing on Jamaica, Cuba, and the Bahamas. So yeah, definitely keeping it out there for that. So anyways, so then we have the GFS ensembles here. Here is, another set of members that kind of suggests, what the system could do. Pretty much the same thing overall. In terms of the system here, working westward, eventually pulling to the north and going out to sea, still mostly over Cuba, mostly over the Bahamas, and then out to sea. So, I mean, at this point in time, I mean, it's pretty much set in stone with a lot of the models here overall. Let's see, I think the CMC is onto something. Would be the case scenario for, would be the best case scenario for Jamaica? And did I see the GEPS? Actually, we're looking at it now. The GEPS ensembles, yeah. That's actually what we're looking at right now. Yep, so, well, I mean, with the CMC model that we looked at there, I mean, there's not a whole lot of models that really suggest it, taking that much of an approach as, some of these other models. Like CMC, this is the one that, it goes a little bit further west, as you can kind of see, like there's Jamaica, but it still has the system skimming right through southern Jamaica. And then, of course, with that low working its way off the southeast United States, will eventually kind of suck the system into it, allowing that system to go up here to the northeast here. But yeah, I mean, the CMC model, one thing I will mention is that it is very different than really any other model run right now. You know, all the main models that we've talked about are a totally different outcome. You know, these models have it going further east, you know, just in general. You know, having that turn a lot more further east here. Let's see here. Will that bring severe weather around, let's see, Artesia, New Mexico? No. This system is not going to go anywhere near out there. Let's see. But anyways, yeah, CMC is definitely one of the models that's very much different than you know, some of the other ones here. But anyways, so yeah, here's HWRF once again, really picking up that strength. It goes right over Jamaica here, you know, as a major hurricane here. Then it picks up to the north a little bit, you know, gets a little bit of strength, maybe gets itself together a little bit between Jamaica here and, you know, Cuba. Then it makes landfall again in Cuba before going over the southern Bahamas and then out to sea. But like I said, we'll have to see how close it gets to Bermuda. It's way too early to tell. It's just, you know, too far out here essentially. But that's what the HWRF here kind of has to suggest here. So then we have the HMON, a bit more zoomed in, as you can tell. So HMON has that system, you know, going right over Jamaica, you know, direct landfall as well. Then the system pulls to the north, maybe strengthens a little bit, hits eastern Cuba, then go through the southern Bahamas. So, I mean, as you can tell, I mean, that's pretty, you know, that's pretty common ground at this point. You know, a lot of models actually do pick up on that. You know, it's not just like HMON, you know, most of the models actually do pick up on that here. So here's HAFS-A parent model, you know, a bit zoomed out so you guys can kind of see everything here. But yeah, HAFS-A rapidly picks up strength, just goes to the south of Jamaica, then pulls north, making a very aggressive landfall in western Jamaica, showing that pressure down into the lower 900s here. And then, of course, pulls to the north here, squeezes right between Jamaica and Cuba, makes another landfall in eastern Cuba, then goes through the southern Bahamas, central southern Bahamas, and then pulls out to sea here. So that's HAFS-A. Then we have HAFS-B, which is another model. You know, this one also kind of agrees, but, you know, not as far west as HAFS-A. This one actually has that system making landfall in, you know, southern Jamaica before pulling to the north, you know, going over eastern Cuba, going through the southern Bahamas again, and then, of course, out to sea. So, you know, like I mentioned, that's pretty much a, you know, a common denominator at this point here is that, you know, the system, you know, will more than likely take that approach, you know, going over or right next to Jamaica, going through eastern Cuba and into the southern Bahamas. You know, that is likely what that system is ultimately going to end up doing. So anyways, here's some guidance on the hurricane models. This is the intensity guidance here. You can see, I mean, there still is quite a bit of disagreement here, and, you know, in terms of how strong the system will get. Good middle ground has this thing getting up into, you know, Cat 3, but there is a lot of models that suggest this thing, you know, upper, you know, in the Cat 4. You know, right now, if I was to bring up the cone from the Hurricane Center, which we'll go ahead and do that now for you guys. Let's go ahead and bring this up. So looking over at the cone here, they actually have that system before making landfall. Look at this. Just before landfall, system will be sustained of 155 miles per hour. So just for an example, that is 2 mile an hour short of a Category 5. That right there, and you can see that's just before landfall here in Jamaica. This is Jamaica right here. That is just before landfall, 155 mile an hour sustained with gusts up to a whopping 190 miles an hour. And like I said, on top of that, you know, the WPC, the Weather Prediction Center's outlook has a good 20 to 30 inches of rainfall falling. So yeah, a bit of a concern. What's up, Sonia? Good to see you. What's up, Scott? CH says, is Jamaica getting a direct hit? More than likely, yes. Yeah, it's definitely very likely at this point in time. I mean, there's, you know, the cone right here is getting more narrow. I mean, it's still a very fat cone, as you can tell. So the center could still go anywhere in this white area. But still, I mean, regardless of where it goes at this point, Jamaica is going to be heavily impacted. And, like I said right now, I mean, Jamaica, we do have those hurricane warnings that are like now in effect here. So definitely is going to be a concern. But yeah, once again, the Hurricane Center's forecast just before we approach Jamaica here has the storm sustaining 155 mile per hour winds. Once again, to be a category 5, it's 157 miles an hour and greater. This is 155, so we're only 2 mile an hour short. And not to mention, this is before landfall. It still has a little bit of room to probably pick up a little bit of strength. That's why I really believe this thing could have a run for Cat 5 landfall, possibly out there by Jamaica. But then, like I said, regardless, wind gusts are going to be upwards of 190 miles an hour, which is, well over Cat 5 wind gusts. So, I mean, it's going to be very significant regardless here overall. Definitely pretty nasty. Yes, Misty, I did hear about it. Somebody else in the chat told me about it here. That was pretty crazy. Actually, I did hear about, here, let's bring up my radar here real quickly. I did see some, what is it? I did see some reports come through earlier. You can kind of still see that line of storms rolling through right now. Yeah, definitely been pretty nasty. A lot of the warnings have been canceled, though, as of right now. But we still got a couple of warnings out here. Why is my camera all fuzzy? But yeah, we got a couple warnings out there. We got one up by Caryville. Also Del Rio here in southern Texas here. So anyways, so that's that. Hopping back over here, though. But yeah, I did hear about it. Hopefully everybody's okay. That is pretty darn crazy overall. So anyways, but then, like I said, once the system goes through Jamaica, it'll probably lose a little bit of strength here. But then, of course, it'll, pass through Jamaica. And then, of course, it'll make a second landfall in Cuba, eastern Cuba. And then eventually a third possible landfall over the southern Bahamas. And then, of course, continually rolling out to sea there. But then it would be kind of aimed towards Bermuda in the long term here. So definitely a lot of uncertainty there in the extended range. But, from the point where we're at now, to the point here in the future, I mean, yeah, there's just, it's a bit concerning here. So, all right, let's go ahead and hop our way over here to the satellite imagery. So this is what's going on here in the sat view. You can see convection's going pretty good. We're definitely convecting pretty well right now. Let's see here. Is there any other systems to watch? So CH as of right now, no. This is the only system in the Atlantic that we're watching. Let's see. Yeah, Misty, I know what you mean. Chris says I wouldn't be surprised if it intensified again after making landfall in Jamaica. Now the sea surface temperature is still fairly warm. It is very warm, actually. Even out there. Here, let's bring up the sea surface temps so you can actually see. Yeah, I mean, those waters out there are 30 degrees Celsius, which that is just ridiculously warm. Like I said, bare minimum development temperature is 26 Celsius. So, yeah. 26 degrees Celsius is like kind of bare minimum for, sustainability and development of tropical activity. But, the waters out there, systems right in here right now, that's 30 degrees Celsius waters. And arguably, it might even roll into a little bit of warmer waters as it goes over Jamaica and goes into eastern Cuba, then goes through the Bahamas, still warm enough, continues northeast, still warm enough until it kind of approaches the latitude of Georgia here. But yeah, very warm waters. That's that's one of the big concerning things with this system is that there's really not a whole lot that's holding the system back in terms of rapid intensification and development here. I mean, yeah, we are expecting this system to really blow up in strength. Another thing, like I said, is that moisture. There's going to be a plentiful amount of moisture. We have a lot of moisture set across Central America that the system is just, conveyor belting a bunch of moisture into that hurricane there. So There is a bit of dry air off to the west out by like western Cuba, but with all the amount of moisture that's flooding into the storm, that's not going to really be much of an issue, more than likely. So, yeah. Florida should be clear. Yeah, no, Florida is going to be fine with this one. This is not going to be a concern for Florida. But what will be a concern is, like I mentioned, Jamaica, eastern Cuba, Haiti, and the Bahamas. Those are the main areas that are going to be under the biggest concern. And like I said, we'll continue to watch Bermuda. Still a little early. Like I said, still a little early to tell about Bermuda, in the extended range, but we'll have to see. But yeah, I'm mostly concerned right now for like eastern Cuba and especially Jamaica there. Those areas I'm very, very much concerned about. And like I said, I mean, you guys need to start preparing. If you haven't already, you need to now, because, like I said, this is going to be very nasty for you guys. It's going to be very devastating, unfortunately. And that's why, you need to prepare for the worst right now. You guys need to make sure you have plenty enough food and water. Make sure you guys have all your medicines together, your important documents, clothes, shoes, whatever. Just put all of that in your safe spot. If you're on the beach, I would heavily recommend that you go inland. We really don't want to be on the beach here. It is very, very dangerous. See, that's good for Florida. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But anyways, so we'll definitely be watching this, y'all. We'll definitely keep an eye out there for it. What's up, Enjoy? Good to see you. But yeah, definitely you got to watch out in Jamaica. And of course, also, like I said, eastern Cuba too. This is, likely going to be quite significant for you guys out here. Then, of course, we do have, the southern Bahamas too. And then, we'll see what happens in the extended range, for Bermuda. But, no need for action right now in Bermuda. We do need you guys to prep for this, obviously, in Jamaica, even eastern Cuba, southern Haiti, and the Bahamas. The southern Bahamas, central southern Bahamas. We need to prep for this now. Let's see. Could we still get hurricanes in December potentially? I mean, it's not impossible, but most of the activity is between June 1st and November 30th. That's hurricane season right there. But yeah, I mean, it's not impossible, but it has happened. I think I had Hurricane Nicole back in 23. I was down here in Florida visiting. I don't know if that was in November or if that was December. Let's see, hurricane. Or was that 22? Maybe that was 22. Holy cow. What year was that? Oh, okay, that was November. That was November 10th. Gotcha. Yeah, that storm went right over us here in Polk County, Florida. And then, of course, last year we had Milton, which was devastating for us. I mean, we had literally, I was in the eye of that storm, Category 2. But anyways. But like I said, guys, if you're just now tuning in, first of all, welcome. Good to see you. If you're new, consider subscribing, leaving a like. It'll be greatly appreciated. Maybe consider sharing this with a friend or a family member just to help spread awareness. Like I said, it's very important to help spread the word right now. We just need to get everybody as ready as possible. Once again, this is a very serious situation here. Jamaica is going to be definitely impacted pretty heavily by this storm here. And like I said, this thing even has a run for a Cat 5. Which seems very possible. Actually, I wouldn't even say impossible. I mean, this is pretty much almost likely that the system could easily get Cat 5. I mean, because for an example, the Hurricane Center right now already has the system sustained just before landfall by a couple of hours at 155 mile an hour sustained. Now, that is only 2 mile an hour short from a Category 5. And of course, we could see some wind gusts up to 190 miles an hour, which is just absolutely crazy. So, Once again, sustained winds of 155 here just before landfall, gusting up to 190-mile-an-hour winds. And once again, the Hurricane Center, or the WPC, the Weather Prediction Center, actually has a total amount of rainfall of 20 to 30 inches of rain expected for those areas out there, which we'll go ahead and bring that up here for you guys here overall. So let's go ahead and actually bring that up. I do need to bring up the Hurricane Center again, which we'll go ahead and do that right now, if I can even get over there. You know what? Let's just bring it up again. We're going to have to load up the Hurricane Center again. Here we go. So, yeah, hopping back over to that rainfall forecast. I mean, you can see, you know, out there by Jamaica, that little pink area, yeah, that equivalents to a whopping 20 to 30 inches of rainfall, which is just absolutely ridiculous. So, you know, flooding is going to be a huge, huge problem out there. What's up, Life? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Let's see. What is the chance of getting 165 sustained? I mean, I don't have an exact percentage for you. Right now, Hurricane Center has 155. I mean, that would only be 10 mile an hour more. Yeah, it's not impossible. It's not. I mean, you know, given the environment that it's in, like I mentioned beforehand, you know, there's not much limitation. I mean, there's pretty much full throttle right now. You know, we have more than warm enough waters out here, you know, for the storm. I mean, there's really three main things you need for tropical development. You need a lot of heat in the water, which we obviously have. You know, 30 degrees Celsius waters is very warm. I mean, we're way up there. So that's not a problem at all. So, you know, mark 1 for 1. 2 for 2, there's no wind shear. Matter of fact, it can actually prove that in the speed that the storm is moving. I mean, it's only moving at 2 miles an hour. It's barely moving. I think it's actually at 3 miles an hour now. Ooh, big difference. But regardless, moving very slow. You know, so that's 2 for 2, no wind shear. You know, very, very warm waters. And then you have 3 for 3, which that is moisture, in which, you know, like we mentioned, there is plentiful amount of moisture here. If we actually hop back to the HWRF here, we look at the humidity throughout the atmosphere. You can see all the bluish color, the greenish blue. That represents a pretty moisture-filled environment here, in which you can see there's really no dry air limitation. So, I mean, you know, that's the three main things is, you know, moisture, you know, water, the heat from the water, and of course, wind shear. And those are all going to be, you know, prime for the development here. There's no wind shear, very warm waters, and plentiful amount of moisture. And of course, that deep convection that is ongoing right now, which will bring up the satellite view again for you guys. You know, it's going, you know, it's definitely picking up some strength. And, you know, like I mentioned, as it did from earlier today, we were at 45 sustained. Now we're at 65 sustained. So the system has strengthened already. What is that? 20 miles an hour today. So it's already picked up quite a bit because of that upper level wind shear. You know, those upper level winds from the last 2 days have subsided, allowing the system to, pretty much opening the gates for the storm to pick up strength here, in which, you know, from this point on, we're definitely going to really be picking up a lot of activity here with this system here. So anyways, so like I mentioned, y'all, just please be careful. You know, we definitely need to watch this, you know, not just from, you know, the winds and the landfall perspective, but also from the water perspective, you know, because like I said, there is going to be a ton of, you know, rainfall with this system. You know, once again, Jamaica, central eastern Jamaica, while it is kind of in lower confidence right now due to uncertainty in the track, we are talking potentially 20 to 30 inches of rainfall out there. Even a little bit of like the southern side of Haiti too. You know, we actually could be seeing that as well. So we'll definitely have to look out there for that. You know, we'll definitely be monitoring that. You know, that'll probably change a little bit here and there. But then you have, like I said, Dominican Republic. I mean, you guys are going to be getting quite a bit as well. You know, pretty good amounts of rainfall, possibly, you know, 6 to 8 inches, locally 8 to 12 possibly. So, you know, that is that. Let's see here. It seemed like it was trying to develop an eye earlier. When? What, earlier today? I mean, given given the convection and how unorganized it was, I don't know if that was an eye, because eyes only usually form in hurricanes. And you know, the system is kind of a mid upper level tropical storm right now. So yeah. Anyways, could have just been a little dry slot. Sorry about my cup here. It could have just been a little dry slot maybe. But I doubt it was a full-fledged eye or anything like that. But anyways, let's see what we got going on here. So apparently we do have some missions going on. Actually, we have one that just finished here a little bit ago. Mission number 10. Let's see here. So apparently mission number 10, let's see, pressure got down to, here, let's look at that real quickly. This is the flight data from the Hurricane Hunters. So here's our mean sea level pressure. On the left-hand graph here in the red, you can see MSLP, mean sea level pressure. So that is the surface pressure, basically. So you can see it's gone up a little bit when they got closer to the eye, or the center. You know, not an eye yet, but when it got closer to the center, you can see we dropped down to just below 995 millibars, so about 994.8, something like that. So, yeah, I mean, pressure is definitely tanking quite a bit here too. But looking at the wind speeds, the surface winds you can see over here, I really wish we could get like the sea level pressure and the flight or the surface winds together on a single graph. That'd be pretty nice. But anyways, you can see once they flew through the center, you know how the winds go down, because towards the center of the storm, the winds calm down a bit, because that's where the end of the pressure drop off begins. And then of course you can see, yeah, we're about 40 knots sustained here right now, according to the pass that they did. I think that's right around like 45, 50 miles an hour. So I mean, it's a little bit lower, but right now it is, like I said, sustained here from the Hurricane Center. We are sustained at 65 miles an hour. So current information, sustained at 65 miles an hour. Movement is northwest at 3 miles an hour. It's barely moving here. What's up, Mark? Good to see ya. Saying in late but here. Hope you're doing good, man. It's good to see you. Hopefully you're doing well. Let's see here. What's up, Carissa? Welcome. But anyways, like I said, the big news tonight here, like we mentioned, is that we do have hurricane warnings in effect here. You know, that's the biggest news with the latest update that we just got here at 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern. So yeah, that's the big news. We now have hurricane warnings in effect, but I warned you guys about it. I mean, I knew it would happen at some point here soon, and it did. We still have hurricane watches in effect for southern Haiti. We'll have to see if those materialize. I mean, I not super confident that those will materialize into hurricane warnings, but tropical storm warnings are already in place for southern Haiti. So, you know, tropical storm warnings are already in place. Hurricane watches are in place. Jamaica, hurricane warnings are in place. So, yeah, hurricane warning meaning, you know, hurricane conditions are imminent. It is expected. Now, like I mentioned, the time of impact is very, very different from a lot of these models. Now, the Hurricane Center, they actually have that system approaching right up to Jamaica, right around the evening of Monday. So that is in, what is that? Today's Friday. Okay, well, actually today's Saturday now, so Sunday. Okay, so in about 2 or so days, right? So we have about 2 days to prep. Now, honestly, we're probably going to be feeling those effects probably later tomorrow night. You know, really starting to pick up out there. So we'll continue to watch with the timing. You know, still is a bit of uncertainty with that, but it'll be about 2 or so days by the time it does get up to Jamaica, which is not very much time when you're dealing with a significant storm like this. You know, definitely need to prep out here. You know, we definitely need to make sure that you guys are ready for it. Make sure you have enough food, water, you know, make sure it's non-perishable food, because, you know, more than likely, yeah, the power is going to go out. A lot of Jamaica is going to lose their power. So that's going to be an issue. Also, you know, the flooding and stuff like that. I mean, if you're in a low-lying spot, would be recommended to move away from the coast and as high up as you can. Avoid valleys because, these valleys are going to be absolutely flooded. Because like I said, given the amount of rainfall we're going to be getting out here, central eastern Jamaica is in the range of 20 to 30 inches of rainfall as of right now. That is a lot of rain, as you can imagine here. So definitely need to look out there for that. But yeah, 20 to 30 inches of rainfall as of right now. So that is a lot, in which that's about 500 to 750 millimeters of rainfall. So definitely quite a bit here. Now, surges are going to be another concern, but the Hurricane Center does not put out graphics on surges for foreign countries, unfortunately. So, there's no map or anything like that I can show you for surges right now. But surges would be easily over 20 foot, I would definitely say, given that, those conditions there and everything like that. So huge problem. But yeah, definitely need to watch out for that. So let's see, timing of the winds. Here's actually another graphic we have not brought up here yet, but you can kind of see the timing of the winds, from when we're going to see potential tropical storm force winds here. You can see that, some of those will start to kind of approach here. I mean, for as early as tomorrow morning, pretty much tomorrow afternoon, some tropical storm force winds could approach, Jamaica and whatnot. Cuba, it'll be sometime in the later evening of Saturday, early Sunday. The Bahamas kind of early Monday, early Tuesday, and so on. So there's a little bit of the timing here. Here's the most likely timing overall, which, you can see has it in the morning for morning of Sunday, mostly for Jamaica. So we'll just watch it. Like I mentioned, there still is quite a bit of, that was early reasonable, but this is most likely here. Still is quite a bit of uncertainty here. So we'll definitely watch it. We'll definitely keep you guys in the loop here with everything. If you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. If there's any area you guys want me to look at, if there's anything you want me to, look at here overall, just let me know. Here's actually we'll actually go ahead and read this to you guys. This is actually the key messages from the Hurricane Center. So they say Jamaica, Melissa's slow movement will bring a multi-day period of damaging winds and heavy rainfall beginning late Saturday or Sunday, likely causing catastrophic flash flooding and numerous landslides. There is an increased risk of life-threatening storm surge early next week. All preparations should be complete by late Saturday. For Haiti, catastrophic flash flooding and landslides are expected across southwestern Haiti into early next week, likely causing extensive infrastructure damage and potentially prolonged isolation of communities. Immediate preparations to protect life and property are urged. Strong winds could also potentially last for a day or more over the Tiburon Peninsula. I think that I probably said that wrong. Now, for the Dominican Republic, heavy rainfall could produce potentially catastrophic flash flooding and numerous landslides in the southern regions. And for eastern Cuba, the Bahamas, the Turks, and the Caicos, let's see here. Monitor Melissa closely. There is an increasing risk of significant storm surge, damaging winds, and heavy rainfall by middle of next week. In eastern Cuba, the risk of life-threatening flash flooding and landslides is increasing. So there you go. So that's from basically everything we talked about, pretty much. So huge problems there. Like I said, we got to watch it for Jamaica, Cuba, Haiti, Dominican Republic for possible flooding, and of course, the Bahamas here overall. So we'll be sure to keep you guys in the loop with everything, and we'll definitely keep you guys weather aware. But all right, everybody. Well, I'm probably gonna roll off here pretty soon. If there's any questions or comments or anything that you guys might have, go ahead and throw them down in the chat. If you're new here, once again, welcome. First of all, and like I said, just please be careful out there. And if y'all have any questions or anything like that, I'm here for you, and we'll make sure that you guys are staying weather aware and weather prepared and stuff like that. So, but I just want to say thank you all so much for joining us. You guys, please be careful out there. Stay safe. Now we might go live again later tonight for coverage. On the storms out here. I'm still not 100% sure if we're going to do that or not. It just depends on what happens. But Severe storms are still continuing right now. We might continue, some coverage later tonight. We'll just have to see what happens with it and all that stuff. But all right, everybody. Well, thank you for joining. You guys take care. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your night. You guys enjoy yourselves, and we'll see you guys here in the next one. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining. See y'all later on. Peace out, my friends. Catch y'all in the next one.